Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to Being on Stage, the only podcast that gives you motivation, inspiration, and confidence to be better on stage. No matter how you entertain, sing, dance, band, comedian, public speaking, MC, drag, burlesque, performance art, or street performer, this is the show for you. Hey rock stars, Reggie Dawson here, your host of the Being on Stage podcast. Welcome back and welcome to the last episode of 2019, the last episode of this decade. Let me tell you, it has been an amazing ride. I've been doing this podcast now for about 2 years, focused entirely on performers, how to do better on stage, how to connect more with your audience, and more importantly, how to continue growing both within yourself and within your talent. And I got to tell you, over the last 2 years, I've talked to some amazing performers. I've gotten a chance to work closer with a few of them, and one of the things I've learned, and one of the things that I have to say I've taken advantage of over the last couple of weeks is, it's important to take some time and be grateful for what you have in your life. And I know, the holidays going around, maybe I'm just really in the holiday spirit, but I kind of took advantage of that lately. As you can tell, it's been quite a while since I did some podcast. I always take time off in December. Lots going on. Thanksgiving just happened. I have a busy schedule. This is not the only thing I do. I have a couple other businesses I'm running. So with work and everything like that, things get a little crazy around the holidays. And then there's Christmas, and then my wife and I have an anniversary on January 1st, and then that's also New Year's, and our daughter's birthday is right around the corner, and it's a really crazy time. And this year especially has been crazy, so I took advantage of taking some time off and took a little more time away from the podcast than I intended, and part of that is organizational issues, and I'll get into that here in a second. But hey, listen, the title of this episode is, updates and resolutions. So the update is, it's been an amazing ride. I've worked with some amazing entertainers. I've learned from them and from myself that it's important to take time for family and for yourself. And that's a good focal point around the holidays is to say, and I'm going to keep this portion short and sweet because I really want to get into the resolutions part. But I really want to say, when you take the time with the family, no matter where you are in your life, no matter where you are in your life, no matter where you are in your career, there is no person on this planet that is too big, too famous, too busy, too swamped, too inundated with work and updating social media in their own lives. There's no one that is that person enough, or that enough of anything, and there's no one that is. You got to make time for family. That's the bottom line. You got to make time for your family. You got to make time for your friends. You got to make time for yourself. And that's a little bit about my updates, what's been going on. I homeschool my daughter. My wife just graduated with her bachelor's degree in graphic design, and on top of that, businesses and everything like that in the holidays. So that's the updates part. So let's get into the resolutions part. One of the things I mentioned was organizational issues. And I got to tell you, I'm not exactly like Susie Clean here. And I don't know who Susie Clean is, but that's just what I'm using for the sake of this story. I'm not exactly the most clean person. And by clean, I mean I bathe myself, things like that. Not that you need to know any of that. But by clean, I mean I'm messy. I'm messy. I'm a little unorganized. There tends to be a lot of clutter in my life and in my home. And my wife does a very good job of helping me, realize these things and pushing me to do a little bit better. And I think that everyone gets a little cluttered in their life and in their organization. And one of the lessons that I have learned, significantly learned, I want to say, in the past couple of weeks is organization is important, not just in your life, but in your stuff, in your performing, in your career, everything. Organization is essential. And one of the things I've been working on over the past few weeks is organizing my schedule. And this is especially difficult for performers, is keeping an organized schedule, keeping a calendar, a planner, if you will. It is extremely difficult. I tried this in August. I'm trying it again. I'm trying it in different ways. I'm trying something where I literally plan it the night before and I print it the next day. Or I don't just plan it the night before. I look over it the night before and I print it. so that I have it for the next one. So I'm just going day by day. The weekly thing got a little, I don't know. I'm just not, I'm not an organized-ish person, I guess. So I've been really working on that and I got to tell you, keeping your calendar organized and like actually having it in front of you every day, it is incredibly useful to make sure you don't miss anything. It's also useful for like thinking back and looking back on what you did, like at the end of the week when you're trying to figure out like, what did I accomplish this week? Like, it's really good to look back and see that. And so I think as we go through our careers as performers and everything, a lot of times we lose track. I see it all the time. I see like the day of event posts popping up on Facebook. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, my calendar is set for the day. Like, you're telling me at 10 a.m. and about an event that's happening at 7 p.m. That's not organized. That's not, I'm going to say it, that's not professional. If you're going to post an event and you're going to put yourself out there, you got to be organized about it. You're trying to build a fan base. You're trying to gain fans here. You got to put your calendar out there ahead of time. And that's when, for me, I'm going day by day. Yeah, but I have meetings and podcasts and website updates and sales stuff. Like, I don't have shows right now. Although I am getting back into a little bit of my emceeing. I'm going to go after it again, guys. I paused for about 6 months or so, but I'm going to go after emceeing again. Got something coming up in March. But yeah, so listen, you got to get yourself organized. You got to get your calendar out there. If you know there's an event coming up at the end of the week, at least post it on Sunday. So always be looking at a calendar. Always keep a calendar so you can, you got to keep yourself organized so that your fans and your friends and your family know what's going on with your career. And I know this podcast is a little bouncy, but as I give you my resolutions, I'm going to tie it into how you can use these same resolutions as a performer, because that's what I'm all about. I coach performers, and I'll coach you. And listen, I know it's been a few weeks, but the calendar is still open. I'm gonna be frank with you. Part of this organization is I've been really trying to fix whatever is going on with my calendar and with my sign up on my website. So if you have recently signed up for a coaching call, or if you have signed up on my website to my email list, first and foremost, I apologize. I don't think you've gotten what you've asked for. I've realized over the past week or so there have been some issues with how things are working with each other. So my commitment right now is I'm fixing it. I'm trying to fix it today and into tomorrow. So bear with me. And you may get an email shortly what you're asking for. So boom, I'm working on it, guys. But that's part of the organization too, is not just the calendar, but also your stuff. And what I mean by your stuff, like, listen, as a performer, you should have a social media. You should have a social media presence, whether you post every day or every week. I can't really get into that because I can't tell you that you need to post every day when, let's be honest, I don't really post every day on social media. I don't think I've used social media in quite some time. I prefer the talking. I'm trying to get back into social media, but I'm being honest with you guys. I always talk about how you need to be authentic and be real, and this is, I'm being real with you guys. I'm not some, Johnny Perfect over here. I'm a human being. You're a human being. We're all human beings, and the issue I'm having right now is organization. But I'm realizing it. I think that as we go through our lives and through our careers, as we make these realizations, it's important to own them, and it's important to make a commitment to them. And as I make my commitments to you, I want you to make commitments back to me and back to yourself, even more importantly, to get yourself together, for lack of a better phrase. When you're a performer, you got a social media presence, get it together. Get a posting schedule. You can schedule posts. I'm not practicing what I preach here, but you can schedule posts through an app called Buffer. You can create fantastic graphics and social media posts through a website called Canva. Both of them have a free option that pretty much allows you to do what you need. I ran this entire podcast and my performance career for a year on just the free stuff. your email list. If you have an email list, you can set up the free email list through MailChimp. I'll be honest, being on stage has an email list. Do I pay for it? No, I use MailChimp. Do I have more than 2,000 subscribers? No, so I don't have to pay for it. It's free up to 2,000 subscribers. Go for it. These are things that need to stay organized, though, and these are things, and if a website, especially if a website that, for example, has a calendar that people are supposed to sign up for a free session, make sure it doesn't take them to PayPal like mine does right now for some stupid reason. But these are things that we got to get fixed in our lives and in our, and yes, I'm talking about myself, but you got to be able to relate to this. You got to have something going on where it's just completely out of control and needs some fixing. And usually it's technologically related for me. I hope it's the same for you. Otherwise, what am I talking about? I guess that's the price I pay for doing a Grip It and Rip It podcast for issues and resolutions. I'll be honest, part of this organization has bled into my desk, my area of work. Through Christmas and everything, I've had to hide and stash presents, and it's kind of taken over my desk with just presents, and I'll be honest, like some mail that probably needs to be tossed out. And so I'm cleaning it off. I'm going through it this week. I'm reorganizing my desk. But when you don't have a clean desk, you don't really want to sit there and podcast. So I'm actually, and this is the funny part as I round out this podcast and as I'm talking about, updates and resolutions, I'm actually podcasting in my car. A gentleman's podcast that I listen to, he actually podcasts every single episode from his car. He does it in like the Kroger, he says he's in the Kroger park and all this stuff, and I've seen it. That's the fancy thing about having an iPhone. He has this great microphone that plugs in the end of an iPhone and pretty much has studio quality. I don't have iPhone, of course, because, I don't like Apple, but that's a whole nother podcast and a whole nother conversation. Don't hate me. But yeah, so he podcasts from his car, so I figured, you know what, my desk is unorganized. I've done the podcast from the car thing before, when I was running around a lot with my wife when she was in school and everything, and it works. It's really great acoustic. So honestly, I mean, if you need to practice your singing, or even if you need to record some singing or some vocals, or even, I guess, an instrument, if you could figure out a way to play it, the vehicle has really great acoustics. So consider that as you move along in your career with whatever you do, that a vehicle has great acoustics. That's where I'm at right now. And ironically enough, there is about three of my neighbors are having their lawn work done right now, and you can barely hear any of those machines going on. So there's that. And I guess that's the last resolution for me to you. And honestly, the goal I want you to set for yourself is, no matter what's gotten in the way, no matter the organization issues that you're having, no matter what happens in your life and what's gotten in the way, and this is something I've gotten away from, you got to find a way to do the things that are important to you and to do the things that are going to further your career. And no matter what that is, whether it is setting 5 minutes aside to rehearse on the back porch, whether it is setting 20 minutes aside to record something while sitting in your car, or whether it is taking 10 minutes to just take a walk and think about what you're going to do, you got to take the time to do it, and you got to just make it happen. And I think that's going to be my big resolution for 2020, and I think that should be all of our resolutions for 2020, is to just make it happen for ourselves. Take the steps that we need to take and do the things that we need to do to make it happen. Whatever it is to you, start thinking about that today. Start thinking about that right now. What can you do in 2020? I don't care if it's January 1st right now when you're listening to this. I don't care if it's December 31st when you're listening to this, 2020. I don't care if it's 2027 when you're listening to this, okay? What can you do right now, tomorrow, next year, the day after tomorrow, next week, whenever? What can you do this year to make it happen? That thing that you want for yourself. What can you do to make it happen? My commitment to you, my resolution to you, as is every single year. Actually, no, it's not. This is the first year I'm making this big of a resolution because I've tried not to make resolutions. So, I'm going to do in 2020 what I need to do to make it happen on this podcast. And I'm going to do it in 2020, what I can do to make it happen for you too. If you want to hop on my calendar in 2020 and let's make this happen together, you can do so. Go to beingonstage.com/calendar.